This is Lightning Power Lunch, presented by Reef Rum on the Lightning Audio Network with Dave Mishkin and Greg Linnelli.
It just means that we're doing a lot of the right things, that we're patient. We're also in the games that, seem like a grind like today where you're not scoring the 3 goals in the first period, that you just stick with it and, not give the game away. So I think that's what we've shown, and that's what we've shown consistently, and that's what happened when you, 11 games is what happens if you do that consistently.
Oh, 11 games. Hi, Steve. And, J.J. Moser getting it done. With a
Sometimes
goal.
11 games doesn't happen, though. You can do a lot of right things. Winning 11 in a row does not happen, even if you're doing everything right. I mean, you need some things to fall into place.
You need some luck.
The Lightning have only done it once before in their entire franchise history, and no team in the NHL, as great as Colorado has been this year, the Avalanche have not won 11 in a row.
Do you need what they call puck luck?
Yeah, and, they won a couple of shootout games during the streak, which, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Those are coin toss games. They are. So, I mean, they could be 9-0-2, right? They could have lost the game in L.A. They could have lost in regulation. They could have lost the game at home to Montreal in that they were outplayed. I mean, they never were trailing in that game. But, I think Moser's point is, this whole process over outcome, like if you handle the details of your game well, and really that translates to defending at a pretty high level, regardless of what's happening offensively.
Yep.
You're going to give yourself a chance to get a lot of points, which is something, I mean, I feel I say that at least once a week on this show. Just like wind me up, and I'll say the same thing again. If you defend well, you give yourself a chance to get points. Lightning have defended well throughout much of the year, and look at their point total, which has followed. So when you have a game like they had the other night in Pittsburgh, where it was the third in 4, second half of a back-to-back with travel. I mean, it's not a terrible flight from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, but as we've talked about, Greg, like it's a bit of a ride from the Pittsburgh airport. I was not with the team on that leg of the trip, so I don't know exactly what time they got in the morning, but that was a circumstantial advantage for the Penguins. I understand the Penguins had a back-to-back over the weekend. They had some travel. I think they were home on Saturday and they went to Boston for a Sunday afternoon game, but they got home at a reasonable hour after the Sunday game, and then they had Monday off. Yep. So they were more rested than the Lightning. This was a challenging game for the Lightning, and when things are going to be challenging in terms of like the wear and tear and travel, and maybe you're not as mentally sharp, you have to dig deep. And what wasn't there for the Lightning, I thought especially after the first period, was some of their finesse. Their playmaking was a little off. Finish was off. I mean, they missed the net a lot. But what was there was battle level. And they dug in defensively against, the Penguins have a good team this year metrically. They're scoring over 3 goals a game. I thought the Lightning did a pretty good job of limiting Pittsburgh's chances, especially 5-on-5. I mean, the Penguins looked dangerous on their 3 power play chances. But until we got to overtime, I thought the Lightning did a reasonably good job of keeping some of the dangerous chances to a minimum, which is not easy when you look at some of the players who are on the other side. So I thought it was a grind-it out type of win for the Lightning, and impressive based on the circumstances. But they needed the shootout to get that game into the win column.
Yep. By the way, it's good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks.
We were thinking about you. Ian did a great
I
job
appreciate
filling
that.
in, but,
My wife does too.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
surgery's never fun, right?
Yeah,
but
of course not.
It was an outpatient procedure. I think I'd mentioned that. So we were back home by the afternoon yesterday. Thank you to Eric for filling in. I was en route back home on Tuesday, so it wasn't related to the surgery, but I wasn't able physically to do the show on Tuesday, but was obviously back, and it was a lot of fun to do a game with Phil again. We're going to do the games this weekend together from the studio as well. And then yesterday, it was an early start, which is kind of good if you're first up, right?
Sure.
But it means you're out the door pretty early, and I want to, thank everyone on staff at the facility where she got the procedure done. Everyone from the check-in people to the nurses to the surgeon, all that was great. and we were back home probably by about 1:30, 2 o'clock. So now there's some recovery, and she's going to take it easy, and I'm kind of here to make sure everything gets done that needs to get done. And again, thanks to the Lightning for, giving me the latitude to be able to do that. Yeah,
you got to do some laundry now.
Well,
you got to get that done.
I am not a non-innocent bystander when it comes to the laundry. There are other household chores. I'll tell you that my wife doesn't want me anywhere near. Laundry I can handle, though.
You can get
yours done. I can do the laundry.
That's a fair point.
I can do the dishes.
Well,
meal preparation is I have a very kind of limited repertoire.
Low bar.
There.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely a low bar, but you know what I am good at? And I'm surprised to say this because you had asked me before we had kids. I never was asked to make this, and I didn't really make it for myself, but I am the go-to guy for grilled cheese in the house.
Are you really?
Yes. The family agrees that I make the best grilled cheese of anyone, even though I don't really eat grilled cheese. So that's my one strong suit. Other than that, it's fairly limited.
Right.
My wife handles most of the meal prep. Thank goodness.
I get it.
I can go pick up food. I'm pretty good at that.
And I always like going out and picking up food.
Yeah.
I get in the car and head out. But
Anyway, so everything's good on the home front. Yes. The next few road games, for sure, I'll be in studio as she recovers. But all good.
So I want to bring you into this conversation because we are getting some questions.
I did not
here.
hear what you and Eric talked about the last 2 days.
No,
on the show.
we've been, obviously one of the big talking points was the Braden Points injury. There was
bullet dodged, I think we can say there.
Bullet dodged, but I don't know if you noticed in The Athletic had something about Braden Points and
they're looking at it from Team Canada.
From Team Canada,
right?
But it was also referenced that he's going to be out for a little bit. Maybe a while, like whatever that's. It made it seem like, yes, they avoided the catastrophic injury, but certainly he's not coming back next week.
No, it's week to week.
Yeah, but does that put it in? One of the conversations that I brought up was if the guy's got to wear a brace to play in the Olympics, does that mean you got to shut it down? In other words, do you need to be at 100% to be in that tournament, knowing that the big picture is to win a Stanley Cup? And I don't know the answer to that question because I understand that is a difficult conversation to have.
Yeah, I think they'll probably – so I think that they're going to have somebody reserve on hand.
They will.
I don't know if you can – I mean, you could theoretically bring someone – actually, I'm speaking a little out of turn here. I don't know. They have their players that are named to the team. There are more players named to the team than will play in a game. Okay, so you have extras baked into the cake. Is it possible that you could bring some other players without actually officially naming them team? What if you start the tournament and you have like 4 injuries in the first game, right?
Right.
So I don't know what the rules are there. Some of the fans may know. But if Point is right on the cusp of like, we're not sure if he's able to play, we're not sure if he's able to play at the beginning, but maybe if we go deep in the tournament, he might be able to play later. It's a leg injury. So, I mean, it's a harder injury to come back from in terms of like jumping right in because, you're limited in what you can do as far as skating as you rehab.
Correct.
So I think that they will monitor the situation and see how he's doing as we get closer to the start of the tournament, which is, I mean, I think the Lightning's last game is February 5th? And probably that might be the last day of play in the NHL. I'm not sure. But within a day or two, the Olympians are going to be heading over. So today is January 15th. So you're probably looking at 3 weeks for them to kind of see how he's coming. Could he play with a knee brace? I think if you're Team Canada, you have so many good options that you didn't take, or even options that you did take, extras who may not have slotted in. I would think that you would go with a player who's not wearing a knee brace. I have no idea. I thought you were going in a different direction, actually, when you said the people at The Athletic are like, well, it's not tomorrow. I look at it this way. The Lightning have 10 games before the break. They have the 2 games this weekend, home for 1 against San Jose, and then back on the road for 2. That's 5. And then they play 5 in a row at home. It's a 6-game homestand because they open after the break with a home game. That's 10 games. I do not expect we're going to see Braden Point in those 10 games. Can they survive 10 games, or 11 if we include the Pittsburgh game they just played without Braden Point? Absolutely. I think, they've shown that they can go 10 games without Braden Point. Then Braden Point gets 3 weeks. 3+ weeks.
Yeah.
So from a Lightning's perspective, if we're saying week to week, I don't know about the Olympics, but is it unreasonable to expect that Point might be ready to go when they resume play? I mean, this 3-week break, whether he's in the Olympics, whether he's there or not playing, whether they keep him home, who knows? But from the Lightning's perspective, the fact that they get the 3 weeks with no games is allowing Point time to heal. The Team Canada question, that's, certainly unanswerable at this point.
So, where
and
I'm
we aren't
getting
really
this-
clued into what the decision process is going to be there.
So,
but there are a
Barter-
lot of great players that were not taken that they could add to their roster.
This is
Bennett,
why I brought it up.
Connor Bedard. I mean, there are centers that they did not take that they could add.
That is true. Where I was basing that information, The Athletic did a story 2 days ago. Chris Johnson and Pierre LeBrun.
I think I read it, by the way.
Did you read it? Okay.
Yeah,
the only thing-
that was the one that led with a source said not good, right? It
That's-
started, and like, what does not good mean? Well, not good from the Lightning's perspective would be like Braden Point's not going to play again this year. That was not the news. The not good is probably like, will Point be able to play in the Olympics for Team Canada? That's how I took it. And there's uncertainty.
you know what? That may be a good point. Because right before that, Cooper is quoted as saying, there's a big tournament coming up in a month, and he's a big part of us. Let's just hope everything turns out all right. Then the next paragraph goes, the early indications aren't encouraging. The Lightning haven't placed any firm timelines or revealed the nature of the injury to Point's right knee, but a league source said Tuesday that it's not good. So
yeah, and that was
you may be
before
right.
Coop. That was before Coop actually came out and said we avoided the worst case scenario week to week. That had to have come out before Coop made a statement, which was what, Tuesday or evening, right? I mean, it was that article had to have been written before Coop spoke to the media,
I
and
think
they must have done a test in Pittsburgh.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And it just goes on to say any absence longer than 3 weeks would jeopardize his availability for the Olympics. NHL players are due to charter Milan on February 7th, and Olympic teams have until February 11th to start the start of the tournament to make injury replacements. Beyond that date, they are limited to the 25 players on their official roster.
All right, so that answers the question. If you get 4 players hurt in one game, I don't know how many extras you're going to bring. I guess we can look at the roster and see, but let's say you get 4 players hurt on defense, which is extremely likely. I'm just bringing it up to bring it up. You're just going to have to go with the guys you have after a certain point. You're not going to be able to fly in extras and add extras due to injury.
It's so I think
Anyway.
I think you cleared that up. That's
how
might
I
be
read
talking
it.
more about the Olympics.
Yeah.
I was looking at it like, are they trying to insinuate that maybe
No.
he's going to be
I trust
back.
John Cooper more than the league source. But the league source is probably looking at it as
That's fair.
the league source might be somebody who is actually involved with Team Canada. And we may have to go without Braden Point. What was interesting in that same article, I don't know where they got this, but they said they were looking at Point playing with McDavid.
Yes.
That is interesting because there was all of this chatter about, and fair chat. Point had a really tough start to the year, not producing, not generating, injured. And people were like, they already named Point to the team. This is, he's taking somebody's spot. So it was like, if you're going to say, all right, Braden Point is not really playing at the level that we thought he would play at, you could make an argument in the other direction based on how he's looked since December 9th when he kind of got hot and was a point munching machine for a month until this last injury. But if you wanted to make the argument, okay, we took Point, he is not having a Point type of year.
Correct.
But that's okay because we have all these other great players. So maybe we sit Point. Like that's an option, right? Or maybe Point is given a less expansive role he's asked to do something else because it's not happening for him this year. I don't know if that's where Team Canada would have gone, but based on what I read and what you just talked about, it's like, yeah, Point played with McDavid in the Four Nations, and that's where we look to use him in this tournament. Two of the fastest guys in the NHL. But if Braden Point is affected by a leg injury, how much does that affect his speed if he's even able to play? As I said a moment ago, unanswerable questions at this point.
To play off of that, we got into the discussion, okay, so Braden Point is going to be out. What makes the most sense in terms of just adding another forward to the lineup? We saw Jack Finley. There was a lot of conversations about his
with the Lightning you're talking
with
about.
the Lightning, correct.
Yeah.
What happens? Does a guy like Connor Geekie get elevated because he's playing in all
Geekie's
situations,
hurt now.
but now he's hurt?
Yeah.
So would that have been an option if you want to see what a guy like Geekie can do? And we've always talked about it. Is it more in a top six role as opposed to being somewhere else in the lineup?
Well, the guy who got elevated the other night and the guy who was on the top line with Gensel and Kucherov at practice today is Nick Paul. And Phil and I talked about that during the pregame because Phil believes Nick Paul should play more. He likes Nick Paul at center. He likes Nick Paul playing more minutes. I mean, there are only so many open spots, though, right? And the way the lineup has been rolling, it's kind of been that Gonçalves has taken, deservedly so, but he has taken one of those top six spots, and the other five, when Point was healthy, are pretty obvious, right? Point, Kucherov, Gensel, Hagel, Cirelli. If all those five are healthy, they're in the top six. Who's the sixth guy? It's been Gonçalves. The team is winning. So Paul is slotted in on the fourth line with James and Bjorkstrand. And again, the team was winning. Now you take Point out. So Finley does come in, but Finley is being used in the role that he has been used in really this year when he's been in the lineup, which is essentially fourth line center or fourth line winger with James if James is taking faceoffs. Paul is the guy who got elevated. And again, what did I just say? We're looking at a fairly short window here until we hit the Olympics.
Yep.
Now, if the Lightning get more injuries, is it possible somebody else could come up from the minors? Yeah. Or somebody could come up from the minors. Absolutely. But they have Finley waiting in the wings. He's been a healthy scratch. You lose a center to injury. You have a center who's been healthy scratched. You insert that center and you shuffle the deck chairs as needed. But Nick Paul is certainly a guy that is capable of playing center with Gensel and Kucherov. It's a different look than having Point there, but it's not ineffective. So for now, that's what they're going to do.
And it makes some sense. The Lightning do have some options, which is nice. And, another guy you and I have talked about a lot has been Gonçalves. It seems like, again, his game is in a pretty good spot right now. Kucherov.
Money in the shootout, I'll tell you what.
Well, we took some questions from that the other day. You weren't here, but, I think you and I referenced this. He's been really good down in Syracuse, right?
The first game the Lightning had that went to a shootout, that was one of the games Gonçalves was scratched. Yep. They didn't have him available. That was the loss they had against the Islanders where Point did score.
Yep.
So in the subsequent shootout games, Lightning only had two, but they won both. Gonçalves and Point scored against Montreal. Montreal didn't score, so that was a 2-round shootout. But against Pittsburgh, Lightning got the goal from Gonçalves, but they needed the goal from Kucherov. They needed somebody who has not been scoring. And I can't remember. I think Kucherov had a chance against the Islanders and didn't score. Kucherov is only at about, I should say only, but I think he's in the 20% for shootouts, and he's been cold the last few years. But he scored against the Penguins, which got the Lightning the win. But they had Gonçalves. They didn't have Point. Point had been 2 for 2. You wonder if they'd had Gonçalves available in that Islander game.
Fair point.
If it might have looked a little different, right? Islanders won the shootout 2-1. Lightning needed a second goal to extend it. They didn't have Gonçalves in the lineup. So, look, the shootout is the shootout. Like, it's a bonus point. It's a coin toss. They might get a goal from Gonçalves and still lose the shootout if other guys are not stepping up and they don't get saves or stops. But it certainly helps. It helps to have him in there. That's not the reason why he's playing in the top 6, though. He's playing in the top 6 because he's grabbing games. And again, I didn't do the Tuesday game, the Tuesday show with you after the Monday game where the Lightning played in Philly, but it was another game in which I thought the Lightning did a lot. I mean, Gonçalves had the 2 goals on Saturday, but again, like that line with Point, Kucherov, and Gonçalves was playing very well for the Lightning. Now with the Point injury, Gonçalves moved down to a line with Hagel and Cirelli, and I thought offensively the Lightning were they were a little off, honestly, against the Penguins, but I chalked that up as much to kind of how the game went and also the circumstances of the schedule.
I think it's fair. The other thing, you missed it a little bit. I made my case for J.J. Moser to be in the conversation for the Norris.
Fair enough. Well, he must have heard you because he scored his 5th goal.
Well, and we got into this discussion a little bit because I guess there are some sites now that are very high on him metrically.
Yeah.
And he's like in the 99th percentile
right.
in defensive. And I think it's fair. He's not going to win it. It's probably very similar to when we had that conversation with McDonough.
It's going to be hard to vote against Makar based on his offensive totals. And, I mean, his plus-minus is – it's not as good as Moser's, actually. But, I mean, he's scoring so much more than JJ. And points matter. They do. In this particular voting.
Points do matter. There's no question about it. But
it's almost like Cale Makar is the combination of Moser and Radish on the Lightning. Makar is the plus-minus of a Moser, and Radish's plus-minus is good too, and he has the offensive flair that Radish brings to the Lightning. Now, Makar is maybe the best offensive defenseman in the entire NHL. I mean, I'm not suggesting that Makar is trying to step into Radish's skates. I'm just saying that, like, Makar brings what the Lightning, he brings to Colorado in one player what the Lightning are kind of getting with their top 2. Because Moser is not producing points at the clip of a Makar or a Radish. He's not on the power play. That's part of it. But also Radish is not like in the upper reaches of plus minus like Makar is. Which speaks to keeping the puck out of your own net. Just look and see where Radish's plus minus is right now. It's good. Where is he? He is 23rd, tied for 22nd. He's plus 18. By comparison, Moser is plus 37. Makar is plus 30. So, I mean, Makar has teammates ahead of him, and he's got a defenseman ahead of him on his own team. Josh Manson's plus 32. But Makar's got 53 points. Moser's got 15. Voters will look at that. They will.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think it was Hughes. Somebody mentioned
Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, that his numbers were pretty low defensively.
Well, he did not have a great start to the season in Vancouver. I think since he's gone to Minnesota, and honestly, it's been a little off my radar. Lightning haven't even played Minnesota yet this year. I mean, he's been better, and Minnesota is having a good year. I don't know that he would get votes ahead of Makar. I will make this point. I mean, I don't see Makar play every game. Makar's ability to be a one-man breakout is incredible. His shot, his playmaking, his vision, his hockey IQ. Like, I mean, if he's not number one among defensemen in every one of those categories, he's very, very close. I think in terms of being a shutdown defenseman, though, I think J.J. Moser has an edge on Makar.
So,
I mean, I'm just going to bring this up. It was one play. But who did Gergensons beat to the front of the net on the 2-2 goal when the Lightning played
Makar,
Colorado?
right? Yeah.
Now, Makar is a very, very good player. But J.J. Moser, he is just like nails in the defensive zone, isn't he? It's very, very rare this year to see Moser be in the wrong spot, basically.
I would agree.
His play has been incredibly high. From the blue line back to the Lightning's net, J.J. Moser has had as good of a season as you maybe can have. I mean, how many goals against has he been out for? We see his plus minus. It's not like he's out there, every goal the Lightning score. That plus is as much about few goals going in against him as it is Lightning goals going in when he's on the ice. I mean, it's some of that, obviously, but we'll have Steve look that up. Steve, you're listening. See if you can find out how many 5-on-5 goals has J.J. Moser been on the ice for that the Lightning have allowed this year. If it's not number one in the NHL among defensemen, it's got to be close.
The reality is he should be getting votes because the league is so backwards on many occasions. When you start talking about you've got a defensive award for an offensive player, why would you not have that for a defenseman?
That's a separate argument, yeah.
Because the Norris...
The defensive defenseman award.
Why not? You have it for the forwards, and arguably it's more important for the defenseman.
Yeah.
To be noticed or to be acknowledged for being a great defensive defenseman.
We talked about that with McDonough last year.
100%.
Yeah.
So, I'm not asking... All of a sudden, you see J.J. Moser with 12 plaques in a row or Ryan McDonough. I think they need to be in a conversation, and I think if you want to get very ambitious, I would create a separate award for that. That's for another conversation, but it speaks to seasons like this that are making an impact that an individual player is having, where I think it needs to be recognized across the board. The other conversation partner we did get in, we had a lot of people mention they felt like, again, there goes Hagel being targeted. There goes Hagel being targeted. And, is there anything the league, we took some questions, can do to crack down on that, to help? And, I mean, I don't think there's anything the league outside of the officiating to take control of that nonsense.
I mean, they called the major there.
Yeah.
So, look, fans that I saw were upset that Cirelli got an instigation penalty, and as a result, he missed the rest of that game because his penalty time carried into overtime, and we had to have a whistle for him to come out of the penalty box. We didn't have a whistle in overtime. So that sequence cost the Lightning Cirelli for the last 17 minutes of basically 17 minutes of regulation and 5 minutes of overtime. So they missed him for 22 minutes, their best defensive center. That was a tough one. And the reason it was tough was Clifton was ready. Cirelli came at him, but Clifton dropped his gloves first. So Clifton was ready for a response, and actually, I think you can make the argument that Cirelli did not deserve an instigation penalty. Now, it was almost like he's coming to the defense of his teammate. That was the spirit of it, so the officials decided to call it anyway, but Clifton dropped his gloves first, so it could have been just a 5-minute fighting major. And the Lightning would have gotten a 5-minute major instead of a 3-minute major, in which they did virtually nothing on the 3-minute major. Right. The hit from Clifton, it deserved a major. They didn't give him a game misconduct. And why did they not give him a game misconduct? Because I don't think it was as flagrant as some other hits. It's almost like you have a minor penalty, and then you can have a major penalty. A major penalty, like the level of wrongness is higher, right? So the officials determine, okay, this play rose to the level of a major as opposed to just a minor penalty. Then you have, does it rise to the level of the player getting thrown out of the game? So, again, the rule book kind of parses this, but there is an element of like more flagrant, right? Then you can rise to the level of supplemental discipline. This is out of the officials' hands unless they call a match penalty, where it's automatically going to supplemental or automatically going to the DOPS. A game with a major, the DOPS will probably look at it and they can decide whether it rose to the level of supplemental discipline. And supplemental discipline can sometimes be a fine, right? We see that sometimes. Sometimes it's an actual suspension. So what they determined for the Clifton play was this rose to the level of a major. It was not just 2 minutes for boarding, because it was less of a bang-bang play. And I did hear the guys talking about it, including you, on the last call after the game. Clifton sees Hagel's numbers and follows through on the check and bashes him against the glass. So it was more flagrant than a minor, but it didn't rise to the level of a game because we've seen worse. I mean, honestly, we've seen worse penalties for boarding. Honestly, that for Hagee hit on Zub, that was somehow called a minor in the Panthers-Senators game, to me, was a more flagrant boarding situation than the one Clifton on Hagel. So, did Connor Clifton target Brandon Hagel?
Yeah.
We would have to ask Connor Clifton. I will just say this. Connor Clifton has been in the league for a number of years. I mean, close to 10, I think.
Physical guy, right?
Yeah, but he's not. Let's look up his penalty minutes. He's not known as that sort of player, Greg. He isn't.
I know he's physical. I couldn't tell you one way or the other.
Has he ever been suspended in his career? How many majors has he actually picked up in his career?
That I don't know.
I actually do not view him as, quote unquote, that sort of player. Now, somebody who is not that sort of player can still have a play like that. All right. Clifton's first year in the NHL was 18-19. So this is his 8th year. His highest penalty minute year was 23-24. He had 88 penalty minutes. He's had 2 years where he was higher. Yeah. He had 1 year where he was 60, 1 year that he was 88. He's usually in the 30s to the 40s, which is not excessively high. I mean, I see some odd numbers here, so that means that he got into a fight or he got a major, maybe. Last year in 73 games with the Sabres, he only had 45 penalty minutes. We're not looking at a guy who's, taking lots of penalties and presumably getting lots of majors. Again, does that excuse the hit on Hagel? No, but I didn't come out of that game thinking, oh my gosh, another team targeting Hagel. The Florida Panthers are targeting Hagel. There's no question about that. I think Clifton made a reckless play, and frankly, it was a dumb play because you're in a 0-0 game, and if Cirelli doesn't intervene, the Penguins caught a break with the call on Cirelli.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you Dan Muse did not sign up for going into the third period of a 0-0 game where the Penguins are desperate for points. He did not sign up for a 5-minute major penalty kill 3 minutes into the third period. Mm-hmm. He didn't. As good as the Penguins have been on special teams this year. So that was a dumb play by Connor Clifton. I don't think he targeted Hagel. I think he made a dumb play.
Josh Yohe had
and they got a little bit of a break because they gave Cirelli the instigation. So it turned into a 3-minute kill instead of a 5-minute kill.
Clifton had this to say after the game, by the way. Quote, I'm committed to the hit. I watched it live. I got him from behind, obviously. It was definitely a board. I feel like I committed. He kind of chipped it in instead of entering the zone with the puck, which I thought he would. Unfortunate. And he said, I was ready for whoever. I guess Cirelli was the first one there. Good for him. I wouldn't like it if my teammate got hit like that.
Yeah. So he's going to own the hit.
He owned it.
I made a mistake. I was expecting you to say from him, I thought it was a minor, not a major. But the
I was
officials
surprised by
looked
that.
at it, and he was allowed to continue in the game, too.
And the reason he threw his gloves off first, he expected somebody was coming.
Yeah, so he knew that
he knew somebody was coming after him.
Right.
Yeah. So they know. Hockey players know.
Yeah. And I mean, look, hearing that for the first time, I'm like, that's kind of a guy taking ownership of.
You never see it.
What happened?
You really it's usually, I thought he turned at the last minute. Yeah. I'm going fast.
We have heard nothing like that from these other plays with Hagel. We haven't. I mean, and not that maybe anyone has asked them, right? Good on Josh Yohe to talk to Clifton about it. But so I had less of a problem with the hit, honestly. And fans who have followed our show know that, like, I've had problems with some of the hits on Hagel.
I think we all have.
Earlier.
I think we all have.
When the Lightning played the Panthers.
There's definitely a targeting aspect, we think. Sherry says, glad to see you back, Dave. Hope your wife is doing well. We appreciate that.
Yep.
Tampa Bay says, do you guys think we should look to add a certain player at the deadline, if any? Another top 6 forward or another right-handed defenseman? Only at the right cost, of course.
Well, you are a big proponent, Greg, of always adding, and you said this on a show recently, if you can, add more scoring.
Yeah.
You like that.
By the way, I said that again recently.
Yeah.
I told him, go get another guy.
It's hard to argue with where the Lightning are statistically this year. The one area where they have not been good statistically, faceoffs. And I think that some of this is tied to the fact they don't have a reliable right-handed centerman. So I think the fan had in there right-handed, right? Mm-hmm. So a guy I didn't mention, and probably because his face-off percentage isn't high enough to get to that list where I was looking at it, but the Lightning just saw him. They just saw him on Tuesday. Achari. Achari is the sort of player, I have no idea if the Penguins are looking to move him. I'm not saying they need Achari.
He's very slow. He's very slow. Go ahead.
But he fits the mold of, maybe he's too close to a Glendening at this point, but he's got experience. He's good on penalty killing. You could put him out there in a penalty kill situation. In fact, the Penguins use him on penalty killing. We didn't see a 5-on-6 on Tuesday where the Penguins were protecting a lead. But if they were protecting a lead and they needed a face-off win to the right of the goalie, I have a feeling Achari would have been out there. So that is the sort of player that might be available, assuming he checks other boxes and maybe not fast enough or needs to be fast enough. If that box doesn't get checked, the Lightning say,
sure,
hard pass.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But Achari's good on face-offs. He's got experience. He's got playoff experience. He can penalty kill. He knows how to be in situations that require a key D zone faceoff being won, and if you lose it, what you need to do in case you don't have the coaches will be comfortable having him out there in that situation. So I just brought up Achari because I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about him because he didn't show up on the faceoff list. There may be other players like that who are out there, but that to me is a possibility. But I think I'm tempered by what Julian said, which is I care more about our 5-on-5 play and our goals against than faceoffs.
For sure.
I mean, he cares about all three, but he doesn't want to add someone who can help on faceoffs that may hurt them 5-on-5. I know it's a little counterintuitive because if you're winning faceoffs, it should help your 5-on-5. But that's where his brain is at, and the Lightning are number 2 in the NHL. In both those categories, team defense and 5-on-5 ratio.
I'm telling you, the dark horse for me, it's just because I see them most besides Tampa Bay. I would make a push for Brian Rust.
Which is completely different. That's a right-handed shooter.
But he can penalty kill.
He's not going to take face-offs for you. But
No, but he does a lot of things that I think he's a Lightning guy. Smart player, fast. He's in the prime of his career. The only knock on him is going to be his contract. And he gets hurt.
He's got term left, right?
And he gets hurt. We had somebody mention Charlie Coyle, by the way.
Yeah.
Somebody that
he was moved at the deadline last year. Yeah. He's in Columbus. So if Columbus continues to...
You know what somebody said?
To flail. What's that?
Aaron referenced, you take Bjorkstrand back if you're Columbus and you swap the two.
Well, I have no idea what... We can look it up. Yeah. I have no idea what Coyle's contract situation is. But that was a trade. So the Avalanche acquired him and then traded him to Columbus. By the way, thank you, Steve Versnick. Moser, even strength, goals for, goals against. 55 goals for, 19 goals against. So J.J. Moser, who has played as much as any Lightning defenseman 5-on-5, the entire year, he's only been out on the ice for 19 even strength. That's even strength. Yeah. Even strength goals against. And it's possible some of those might have been 4-on-4 or even 3-on-3 in overtime. It's possible Moser, I don't remember, but the Lightning lost some overtime games earlier in the year. It's possible Moser was actually out on the ice for one of those goals. So what Steve looked up was even strength. Yeah, only McKinnon and H's have a bigger differential because that's true because they have a better plus minus. I was wondering, does anybody have a lower goals against than 19? McKinnon is at 24. So Moser has been out on the ice for fewer goals allowed than Nathan McKinnon. 5 or even strength goals allowed. That was my point. And really, I was asking about defensemen. But McKinnon's the top plus-minus guy in the NHL. So Lehkonen is the same as Moser, again, a forward, 55 and 19.
All the more why he should be getting.
So there's a way to filter even strength goals against.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, except for guys who just don't play a lot. So let's use that as a caveat. If somebody plays like 5 minutes a game, it's possible they haven't been out of the ice for 19 goals allowed, even strength. Yep. But of the players who are playing regularly / a lot and used in key situations, I have a hard time believing there's another defenseman out there who has been out for fewer goals than 19, more than halfway through the season. They should have that. They should have that as a stat. Now, you're going to make me stat commissioner for a day? Get rid of giveaways and takeaways. And I know we're talking season giveaways, takeaways. Get rid of the stuff that doesn't really tell me anything and give me a minimum number of minutes and tell me who are the league leaders in fewest goals allowed when they are on the ice.
Why wouldn't
we
you
may
do
have had
that?
one at 17. Thank you, Steve. Malinsky is 41 and 17. Malinsky's their third pair defenseman, though. So Malinsky is not going to be seeing the same responsibilities as Moser, but he is on Colorado that has just been like steamrolling teams.
Moser is having the equivalent.
15-28 for Malinsky.
The equivalent to a forward having a 100-point season.
Moser's at
On
22
pace.
minutes. So Moser is
He's
playing
on pace.
almost 7 minutes.
Yeah.
More than 6 minutes. So 6.5 minutes more per game than Malinsky.
In my opinion, defensively, Moser,
and seeing harder assignments, too.
the season he's having is somebody approaching 50 goals and 100 points.
Sorry, 1858 of even strength time.
Yeah. Michael says, notice that Connor Geeky was out of the lineup in Syracuse last night. I'm guessing he's getting the call up to fill in. Do you guys think that he fills in at center in the top six?
We heard he was injured.
Yeah, so we wanted to clarify that for you. Alan says, what has been impressive about this team is they seem to get better every game, even after a loss. So going with the saying, it's not broken, don't fix it, will we ever see Coach Cooper go 11-7 again? Yes, you will.
Yeah. I actually think if McDonough is able to return before the Olympics and they don't have a forward, like Point presumably is not going to be back, I could see them going. I could see McDonough coming into the lineup and them taking a forward out. I could see that.
I saw Mike Rupp make a comment that if John Cooper doesn't win the Jack Adams, we have a problem in the league.
Well, there's some people in Colorado who would have an argument with that. If the Avalanche set the wins record, which is going to be harder for them, but the points record, but it happened to Coop in 18-19. Who knows how the voters
I will say this.
will vote. But
I am definitely seeing more people nationally get on that bandwagon. So
Yeah.
there could be a push for him to get it this year.
because the Lightning are not where Colorado is at, but they are second in so many categories, and they have had to do it with a decimated lineup, and the Avalanche haven't. Now, how did he put it? Like, it would be a disgrace if he doesn't win it or something like that.
If there's a problem, like we have a
There'd
problem.
be a problem.
Yeah.
No. If Jared Bednar wins the Jack Adams this year, that's not a problem. He will have done enough to have earned consideration to get votes, and he just would have happened to get more votes than Coop. I think Coop's going to get a lot of votes this year, though. And Coop might win it if things stay the way they are. The Susan Lucci syndrome, right? I should probably use a different reference, but I remember all those years, like Susan Lucci, the daytime star, never won an Emmy. It's like, how is it that she hasn't won an Emmy? And then I think one year everyone took pity on her, kind of, and gave her an Emmy. It may not have even been her best performance.
Yeah.
Not saying that's happening to Coop, but there is, like, John Cooper. He's the longest tenured coach in the NHL. He's the second fastest coach to 600 wins in the history of the NHL. And he's never won the top coach award. And people are like, how is this possible? All due respect to Jared Bednar, who is, I believe, the second longest tenured coach in the NHL and also has not won the award. If there's going to be a coin toss, it's almost like the McKinnon argument a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Cooch has won the Hart Trophy. So even though we can make an argument that Cooch deserves it because he won the Art Ross over McKinnon, talking about 2 years ago, when McKinnon won it, there were some votes there. Well, McKinnon's never won it, so he deserves it for his year and also because he's never won it. Well, Coop's been in the NHL coaching with his team longer than Bednar. He leads Bednar in every category coaching-wise. As great as Bednar has been by the bench for Colorado, neither coach has won this award, but Coop has been at it longer with more success and still failed to win the award and tied the wins record along the way at the time and didn't win it. So I think there may be some votes. It shouldn't just be more than the 1 year, as we talk about. You're supposed to vote based on this 1 year, but I think that might factor in. Particularly people like Mike Rupp are talking about it. And he's really framing it as he's done a great job this year, but there has to be almost the asterisk of how is it that he's never won it? People are like, how is it that he's never won it? You know?
I mean, it is. I mean, could you imagine him being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame and not having won Coach of the Year, and he's had multiple Stanley Cups?
It could happen, Greg. I mean,
I guess
I have
it
no
could,
doubt he's
but
going
how
into the
foolish.
Hockey Hall of Fame.
How ridiculous.
I have a doubt whether he's going to win this award. Well, it is
Which
and
is
it isn't,
stupid.
because you got a lot of voters and they're voting on one particular year.
It's
How
why
many
they
years
shouldn't have votes.
And it's for the regular season only.
I know.
Well,
I know.
fair
You know
enough.
my take on that.
Who did I see recently? It was a team that we saw recently. And the broadcaster, because there were two, right? I can't remember who it was. I'll have to go back and think about it. They said last year they voted for Coop. I'm like, oh, so you were the other one.
You were the
I don't think that person put Coop first. I put Coop first. I think there were two people that gave Coop the first place vote.
You settle it
And
by
I'm not patting myself on the back because there have been
Listen.
other years that I haven't put Coop first.
and
In 18-19, I did. And I think he deserved to win it that year. But
if you give it to the winner of the Stanley Cup, you're going to have a variety
Yes.
of coaches because it's very hard to go back to back, as we have seen. And if you go back to back, you probably should get it anyways. So at this moment, John Cooper would have 2 Coach of the Year awards, which, quite frankly, we wouldn't be having that argument if that's where we were right now.
yeah.
You'd say 2. Yeah, you know what? He could probably have 4, but I'll give you 2. That's fine. It's not like he didn't win any, Greg. We're having a conversation about the most successful coach, not just in hockey, but in all of sports, arguably, and he doesn't have any hardware. Now, he probably doesn't care, but quite frankly, everybody got an ego. I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
I'm sure that does
He wouldn't
bother.
turn it down.
Come on.
If he gets the
Come on.
award.
You know, this is where there's
He's
smart
not going to
people
say,
out there.
you know
That's
what, my good
stupid.
friend Jared Bednar set the points record this year.
That's right.
I think he should have it.
That's stupid. And it is dumb, just like J.J. Moser won't get any votes for the Norris Trophy. That also
And I kind of
is
rattled
dumb.
through it because Steve was sending us some information. So I was looking at Moser's total ice time. So Malinsky on Colorado has been on the ice for 2 fewer goals than Moser. But as I made the point, Malinsky does not see the
who's he
same
playing?
matchups
Right.
than Moser and does not play as much. Now, I said 6.5 minutes. It's not that. It's 3 minutes. Because Moser's, it's even strength ice time.
Right.
3.5. Exactly 3.5. Moser is at 18:58. Malinsky is at 15:28.
Sure. Tonight, enjoy some Reef Rum, smooth, versatile, now pouring at Benchmark International Arena. Order a Tropical Wave or a Lightning Mule. And taste why fans are switching. Reef Rum is a premium craft Florida local rum built on authenticity, quality, and easy drinkability. Ask for Reef Rum by name. Go Bolts. Please enjoy responsibly. Let's get to a few more questions, partner. And this comes from Stephanie. Nick Paul, his play has suffered a little bit, being on a fourth line. Gage has played well. Hope moving him from top line doesn't affect his scoring chances.
Well, he's still playing with Sorelli and Hagel. So, and I think he played with them a bit last year too. He was in the top 6 in the playoffs, but the playoffs were weird because Hagel missed half the series. So I actually don't remember, but I don't think this is the first time that he's played with Hagel and Sorelli. In fact, didn't he start training camp playing with them? That was the plan at the start of camp, to have him in the top 6, and he didn't get off to a great start.
Anthony says, I think the boys didn't have enough energy to make plays against the Pen. Stamkos just a good fit, ironically, with his shot and face-offs. We will have troubles against the Leafs in the circle in the playoffs. So looking ahead a little bit.
Yeah. So, first of all, Nashville may be less inclined to trade Stamkos.
Where are they in the standings right now? I haven't
Yeah,
even
they're
looked.
sniffing.
They kind of around.
They've turned it around. Stamkos has definitely turned it around.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of things with Stamkos. First of all, I don't know that Nashville is going to make him available at this point. Second of all, I did see fairly recently that if Nashville is going to make Stamkos available, they are not retaining any salary. So this would be a big ask for the receiving team to take on, it would be 2 years at $8 million per. That's a lot, right? And while I agree that Stamkos' shot, especially on the power play, and his ability to win faceoffs would be a benefit, Stamkos was used on penalty kill to win a faceoff, but really was not used on penalty kill. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the Lightning feel that is exactly like taking everything into account. Yes, it checks 2 boxes for sure, but I don't know. I think the term, the fact that it's 2 years at $8 million per is a lot. It's a lot for any team, even with the cap going up.
Yeah,
next year. What else did the fan have in there about
an issue with Toronto?
Yeah, so
Because
that fan is looking at one potential matchup. Who knows if Toronto's even going to make the playoffs? I mean, I'm not saying they aren't going to make the playoffs. They've had a great run. They got talk about a tough back-to-back. They went Denver to Utah, and they got absolutely hammered by Utah. It was waiting for them. That's why these, road-intensive stretches can be tricky, and Toronto has a ton of road games after the Olympics. I think it's something like, I'm going to get it wrong, 23 or their final 33 are on the road or something like that. I mean, that feels like that might be a high number of games left, but anyway, it's something like that. So who knows? I mean, they do seem to be playing better, but if they're going to make the playoffs and if the Lightning see them. Now, I do think the Lightning, it would benefit the Lightning to get better in the circle. And being at 40% or less in a series is going to be an obstacle to overcome against your opponent. Can it be done? Sure, it can be done. But I don't think you want to put yourself in that position. You really want to be, 45 or higher. If you can get to 50, that might be a little bit of a pipe dream for the Lightning based on where they've been at and based on the opponent too. I mean, they may face a team that also is under 50% on faceoffs.
Steve said after
16
Olympics,
of 26 on the road. Thank you, Steve. I knew it was like they only had 10 home games. So
Blab says, do you think Moser will end up being a better player than Sergachev, and thus Tampa Bay wins the trade regardless of Geeky? Ooh, who wins the trade?
Yeah.
I'm
not a big about who wins the trade talk.
Do you think it's an interesting
the Ben
question?
Bishop, Corey Conacher trade, the Lightning won that trade.
But
Usually it's a little bit more nuanced, though.
I think you have to be fair to Sergachev and Moser, different players.
Yeah. I think Julian said, though, at his fireside chat, he was asked about Moser, and he's like, we acquired him, we liked him, but it almost made it sound like the level that he's reached at this year, it's not like they expected it. They'd hoped, right, that he would continue to, and Julian said he feels he can get even better. He's 25 years old, Moser.
So here's how I would phrase that. I do think they are different players. I think if you want to say whatever Sergachev provides offensively and whatever Moser provides defensively, is that a wash for both teams? Don't know. I think whatever you get out of Geeky, if he ends up being an NHL regular, you win that trade slam dunk. That's just how I would look at it. Because the level of play, different players for Sergachev and Moser, it's hard to imagine that Sergachev's level of play has gotten to where Moser is. Maybe we haven't seen enough of that this year. So that would be unfair maybe for me to judge.
I just made the argument, and the stats kind of sort. I mean, it's not a clear-cut thing. Minutes and matchups affect this. But the fact that we had to go looking for Colorado Avalanche players who were out on the ice for fewer even-strength goals than J.J. Moser, based on the responsibility that J.J. Moser has with the Lightning, I am going to make the argument right now that whatever we're at, 45 games in for the Lightning, and most teams are past the halfway point. Every team is past the halfway point. There has not been a better defensive defenseman in the NHL than J.J. Moser. There hasn't. Make me an argument that there's been another defenseman who has been better defensively than J.J. Moser. Plus minus, even strength goals allowed. Matchups, responsibilities.
I'm
it's not like
disagreeing
it's not
with
like he's out on the ice for whatever it was, 55 goals for. It's not as been out on the ice for, 70 goals for. His phenomenal plus minus in 55 is good, right? But talking about goals for, even strength goals for, that's good. But he is third based on what is not going in the Lightning net. That's how he's gotten to where he has gotten in terms of his league ranking with plus minus.
Do you think the reason you don't see more of players like J.J. Moser, Ryan McDonagh in that conversation is that, A, it is more offensive driven, of course, but do you think it's easier to look at the statistics for the people who are voting rather than do a deep dive to something like you just did? But that's what I mean.
Found a stat to look at.
But how many people are doing it? In other words,
voters for the Norris. Look at this stat.
But that's what I mean. Like, is it easier for them just to look at points rather than
it is?
Let me do a little more deeper dive into this because the numbers.
Let's filter minutes and goals allowed while even strength goals allowed while you're on the ice. Now, penalty killing matters too. You can look at that. How many penalty kill goals happen when this player is on the ice?
Yeah.
You can look at total goals allowed when the player is on the ice. And plus minus tells you some of that because that takes into account the even strength stuff. But yeah, we're always like, how do you gauge a defensive defenseman? Well, how often are they skating back to the bench with the red light on behind them?
Sure.
You can look that up.
Yeah. Junebug says, Mika Zibanejad is someone I would target. Some hoops to jump through for sure with 8.5 cap hit and no move clause. Right-handed center performs on the power play and is over 50% in the face-off dot.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because he's really a top six, but he does take key defensive zone faceoffs. He does. So does Trocheck. Rangers are really. Ugh. That is one of those little videos where you see like a dumpster sailing down the river on fire. Like I saw one referring to the Rangers with that, so I didn't come up with that on my own. But I mean, they got hammered by the Bruins 10-2, and then they came home. I don't know if this was the next game, but they were up 2-0 on Seattle. They ended up at home. They ended up losing 4-2. They are under Hockey 500 now. And I think they're last in the East. So who knows? They may move some players. Phil was mentioning Panarin. He thinks Panarin might go somewhere at the deadline.
Could see that, right?
Yeah.
He's older too. Panarin.
He is. He didn't get to the NHL until he won the Calder, I think.
Was he 28?
He was 20. No, he was, I think, 24 when he won the Calder, but that was with Chicago.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Right.
A long time ago.
Yeah, probably 10 years ago. So, yeah, he's probably in his mid-30s.
Radish, this is from Isaac, says Radish is going to get votes before Moser does. Ooh. I mean, look, that is true. Who's having, this would be a fun question. In terms of expectations or not, who do you think's having a better year for what they do, Radish or Moser?
Yeah, it's a hard one to answer.
That's a hard one because nobody expected Radish to have this year, and I got to say, nobody expected Moser to be this good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been phenomenal. And this is part of why the Lightning are in a position they're in. I think they have some guys who are performing beyond what you thought. You have two guys on the back end. Can you make the argument that Radish and Moser are playing at an all-star level this year?
Yeah.
Could you make that case?
Mm-hmm. By the way, Steve just found another guy in the Bruins. I think his name is pronounced Aspero. They just actually re-signed him. He's
feels like a mixed drink.
Games. Yeah. He's been on the ice for 9 even strength goals. So a little under half, but he's played 27 games. So he's played like Moser missed the first two.
Yeah.
So Moser's played 43, and this player on Boston has played 27. So look, that's comparable, but like, is he getting the matchups that Moser is getting? And his even strength ice time is less. It's 15 minutes. Moser's at almost 19.
Yeah.
So again, that's a fair one though. Steve, we put Steve to work. Mahura has allowed 6 even strength goals. Been on the ice. He's not allowed, but he's been on the ice for 6 even strength goals in 20 games. So I mean, we're looking at guys who have been, not full season guys and probably not getting. I can guarantee you Josh Mahura is not getting the same responsibilities that J.J. Moser is getting.
Can we get Josh on the show? Steve, let's ask him that question, and we'll break it down for him. All right, so that's going to end our show, but that was fun. We got a chance to kind of dive into it. You got back. We wanted to pick your brain on a few things tomorrow. We actually have a game.
Yeah, we can get into the
Lightning
Blues.
and Blues.
This has been one of the toughest buildings for the Lightning. There are a few buildings the Lightning just
They don't play well.
boy, they just cannot get wins. Now we've said that about Washington, and the Lightning did pretty well there this year because they went 1-0-1 in 2 games. But the Lightning won their first ever road game. I think it was their first ever road game, but it was also their first ever road win in St. Louis. Since that game in fall of 92, the Lightning won a total of 4 other games in St.
That's
Louis.
incredible.
They won 5 total
Wow.
games in St. Louis. Now, they won there a couple of years ago, as in not last year, not the year before, the year before that. But they just
What do you make
they
of
get
it?
shut out. They get a lead, they blow it. I mean, there have been a few overtime
Yeah.
losses in there. I can actually look it up.
It's just one of
So
those
last year
games.
they lost 3-2 in St. Louis. They've done much better at home, and they already have a win this year against the Blues at home.
Right.
The year before they lost 5-0. Then the win 4-2. So before 22-23, their previous win in St. Louis was 17-18. That was by a shutout. And they actually won there in 16-17, which is interesting. No, I'm looking at the wrong. That was a home game. All right. So they won in 22-23. Going back, prior to that, they won in 17-18. And then their previous win before that was 09-10. Interestingly, 2 of their wins of the 5 have come in years in which they missed the playoffs. 07-08, they won there. In 09-10, they won there. They missed the playoffs both those years. So, I mean, we're going back so far, Greg. You're like, what do I make of it? I mean, lately it's kind of been Binnington. He's played very well against the Lightning. He's racked up a bunch of shutouts against the Lightning at home. He hasn't played as well against the Lightning in Tampa. And
They've had some good teams too. St. Louis.
they've
has been
had
pretty
some good teams.
competitive.
They tend to defend pretty well. This
Yeah.
year they've not had a good year. They're going to have some giddy up to get into the playoff picture. It's not impossible, but things are not quite as tight in the West as they have been in the East. And, you know, they are coming off an impressive win against Carolina at home. And the Lightning, you know, at some point the Lightning are going to run into a loss. They are. But they got a nice day off yesterday, practice today, travel out to St. Louis, and they'll get ready for the game against the Blues. Hopefully they can buck the trend and pick up win number 6 in St. Louis.
They may do
Tomorrow
it
night.
with this team. Anything's possible. The way they
Anything
are,
is possible.
They are
Yes.
clicking. Well, we'll talk tomorrow for our show. We're gonna go live, right, noon to 1.
Yes.
And then we've got the game tomorrow night, and we'll break it all down. Partner, good to have you back.
Yeah,
Great job.
thanks. Good to be back.
Great job as always. Steve Ersnick, thank you for all the work behind the scenes, getting us in order for Jared Johnson. I'm Greg Linnelli. You've been listening to Power Lunch on Lightning Radio.